Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Cheryl Tan.
And I'm Zach Miller. Welcome to Hampton Roads Business Weekly. Starting your own business can be a daunting, even terrifying endeavor. That's why over the next few weeks, we hope to look at the various aspects of starting a business, from where to turn for advice and mentorship to the best way to secure financing and more.
I recently sat down with Joe Witt from Old Point National Bank. We talked about the smart way to start a business and why going to a bank right out of the gate for funding may not always be possible. Joe, we get this question all the time. What is the smart way to start a business?
Well, the smart way to start a business is first to have a good, solid business plan. If you don't understand what you're trying to do with your business, if you don't have a good plan for success, you're going to struggle from day one. So most entrepreneurs get into the business because they have an idea or a product that they're trying to sell. And that's great. But it's more than just about a product or an idea, especially if you don't have a patent. It's more than about a product or an idea because anybody else can have that same product or an idea. It's about having a good plan to bring it to market. But even more important than that, it's making sure you have the right capital and the right financing to finance your business before you get going.
And when we're talking about capital, it doesn't necessarily mean a lot of money to start a business, even especially in this day and age.
No, it doesn't take a lot of money, but you need to understand what the right amount of cash is. You can't start a business strictly on leverage, strictly on loans. You need to have some investment into it. And where do you get that investment from? Well, when you're an entrepreneur, generally you reach out to family or friends or a venture capitalist who shares the idea that you have. There's a lot of venture capitalists throughout Hampton Roads, a lot of wealthy people who are looking to help people start businesses. And there's networks out there that people can find to find those venture capitalists. Once you get their business going, sometimes you have to reach out to non-traditional forms of financing where you can factor your receivables or you can do some other things to create the cash flows you need to continue to finance your inventory and your payroll. But you need to be prepared to probably run losses for the first year. And if you can't be prepared to run losses for the first year, you're going to find yourself struggling, probably from day one.
I know you've said also before, as we talked, that probably your first stop, if you're trying to get capital to start your business, is not the bank, compared to what a lot of people think that.
Yeah, the bank is not the first place to come. Traditional banks like Old Point National Bank generally do not lend to startup businesses, and because it's not in our charter. That's not what banks were created for. That's not what we're here for. So your first place to go is find your capital, to get that base of capital. And once you get that base of capital and you start growing that business, there are plenty of non-traditional forms of financing out there. Once you're in business for a number of years, generally 2 to 3 years, and you begin to turn a profit, the bank is now the right place to come. And the bank can offer you more inexpensive financing and financing that allows you to grow the business faster because there's more availability of cash.
So that brings up a good point. So even if you're a startup company and you maybe know right in the very beginning that you're not eligible for any sort of loan, what programs do you offer, or what kind of guidance can you give so that one day, 3 or 4 years down the road, you can come in as someone who may be able to get a loan?
Well, one of the guidance I would say is start the relationship with the bank on day one. Open up your accounts, run your transactions through, let the bank see what a great business you are. And that trust and that relationship begins to build over the years. There's also some other great programs out there. One of the things I do on my off job, I guess I'm chair of the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce right now. And we have the Small Business Development Center over there, which actually helps small businesses put together their business plans and figure out how to get that financing, and helps to match them with those venture capitalists, with those other people who want to fund the startup businesses. That is a great way for a small business to work with professional people to get that help while they're working with the bank at the same time. Bring in as many partners as you can, because people have been through this before and they could give you great advice to be successful.
And they're willing to help you out.
They're willing to help you out.
Joe, thank you.
Thank you.
Why is Starbucks one of the best companies when it comes to customer service? Find out when Hampton Roads Business Weekly continues.
Welcome back. Let's jump into a segment we call Customer Service 101. I sat down with Dr. Kathleen Patterson, a professor at Regent University School of Business and Leadership, to talk about some of the top companies at customer service. There's a ton of companies in the world. What are some of the best ones that are great at customer service?
There are two that come to mind as top-notch with customer service. The first is Starbucks. Schultz has done a fabulous job of promoting a servant mindset, encouraging his employees to be servants. And we saw this just this week with everything going crazy with the stock market. Schultz actually contacted the employees, and he doesn't even call them employees, he calls them partners. Right. But he contacted them and said, hey, it's been a rough week for a lot of our customers. They've had a lot of anxiousness going on. Let's serve them well today. And that's not direct quoting, but That was the essence of his message. And just having that incredible mindset to do well by the customer. We didn't make it right, let us make it right now.
Well, one thing what's interesting about that is maybe 3 or 4 years ago they closed down several of their locations to retrain employees. And so what's interesting is as we keep talking about customer service, it really isn't about the customer service. It's about training and making the employees right.
Always.
But it costs it potentially, if you're looking short term, it costs the company too much money to do that. What can a company do, like Starbucks, to say, if we don't do this now, it's going to go bad? Right.
And as a business owner, you're not even all that interested in today. You want your business to be sustainable long term. And research shows over and over again, if you take care of your employees, 2 outgrowths occur from that: high customer satisfaction, profitability. Mm-hmm. And if I came to you as a business owner and said, Zach, do you want customer satisfaction and profitability? Yes, that's what we want.
Yeah, of course.
But we know how to make it happen. The thing is, it's counterintuitive. We want to take care of the today. We want to take care of the problems right now. But great leaders, great business minds are looking long term.
You had a second company in mind.
I did. Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines has repeatedly has received accolades for their great customer service. But the reason they receive those accolades is because they empower their employees just to make it happen. If I'm an employee at Southwest Airlines and you are a traveler and you come to me, there's an issue, I don't have to go and check 20 different places. I am empowered to make it happen right here, right now for you as the customer. Southwest Airlines also has a philosophy where they put employees first, customers second, and shareholders third. That is so counter culture to what we want to do. We want to take care of our shareholders.
Sure.
But really, when we begin to flip that around, it really empowers everything great to happen in a company. Employees are happy, customers are happy, things are profitable, shareholders are happy.
We want our teams and our customers to wake up every day and want to be associated with us, to come to the office, to, even if it's your day off, think about us in a positive way and do all those things. And so the culture is such a big piece to customer
service.
Culture's
everything, yeah. The interesting thing too is when you were talking about levels of engagement, Gallup shows that only 30% of most businesses, most organizations, of those employees are engaged. Mm. So 1 out of every 3 of your employees is engaged into what's going on. That leaves 2 out of your 3 not engaged in what's going on. And when you don't have engaged employees, they're not interested in coming to work. They're not enthused about coming to work,
Yep.
and they're certainly not going to serve your customers.
So engaged meaning what? So knowing what's going on with the company, how do we define engaged?
Caring about the business, caring about the organization, caring about what's happening. If I am engaged, I'm all in. I'm so interested in what our business is doing. I'm interested in our customers. I know our products. I know our services. And that's fantastic. We have to sometimes focus on that 2 out of the 3 that aren't interested and either get them on board or help them go on to something else.
Still to come on Hampton Roads Business Weekly, the legal questions you need to ask when starting a business. But first, our Entrepreneur of the Week reveals how a lifestyle change led her to opening her own business. Hampton Roads Business Weekly continues next.
Now it's time for our Entrepreneur of the Week. I spoke with Lisa Cruz, creator of Kombucha, a non-alcoholic beverage. Find out how she took her company from a spare bedroom to all across Virginia.
Really, networking to me is all about the other person. It's about getting to know what their problem is and seeing where your solution fits in with what they need.
So let's go back maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
An idea comes up to do a new thing. What is it?
Quit drinking, first of all. I decided to adopt a healthier lifestyle.
Yep.
And as a part of that, I'm a socialite. I love being around people, very extroverted, enjoy conversations, enjoy social functions, soirees, that sort of thing. And I love to party. So instead of drinking, it was suggested to me that I start drinking kombucha, which is a probiotic non-alcoholic tea. So I started drinking kombucha. It got really expensive, and I figured out, okay, I can make this. It's just a fermented product, simple process, fermentation, breaking down sugars, converting it to alcohols or acids. So I looked into it and figured out how to make it, started making it, and would bottle it like so and take it to different parties, social functions, soirees, and the like. And it caught on.
You solved your own problem.
I did. I solved my own problem.
So take us back to figuring out what brewing it looked like. Did you go get a facility? Do you
Oh,
do
it didn't start off anything that fancy. I started off at my flat. Lived in Virginia Beach in a townhome, took a spare bedroom, and started using that as my brew room.
So you used the product for yourself for a while.
Yeah.
And then other people said, what are you drinking? And
That
you
is
started
correct.
hanging out, and they said, oh, I'd like to buy that somewhere. And then the aha moment kind of hits, or how do you decide to get it to production and out there?
When I noticed that there was a demand for the product and it was being received very well within my community of circles and colleagues, I realized there's potential in this for a business venture. And
So oftentimes we can look at that piece of data and think that we have something that we don't. How did you decide that, okay, I'm hearing this enough and I think that we can take this to production, that it was okay for you to kind of take that risk and go out on your own and do it?
I tested the waters. I looked at that theory that, okay, there's a demand for this product and it's trending, and I set up a website for it and pursued online orders, and through that realized that my theory is correct. I had a potentially profitable venture, and from there decided to scale up.
Gotcha.
So it was all about scaling up.
So what I respect a lot about you is your hustle and how you've networked your way into doing certain things. I remember about a year and a half ago, we're having dinner together with a certain young lady from Entrepreneur Magazine, and you went and took that networking experience and turned it into a feature in the magazine. Break down kind of how that happened.
Wow. Well, really, networking to me is all about the other person. It's about getting to know what their problem is and seeing where your solution fits in with what they need.
So don't pitch you at all.
Oh, no. That came as an afterthought.
Right. So really trying to find out what someone's problem is and seeing if there's a
Exactly.
way for you to solve that yourself.
Not finding out if there's a way, it's finding the solution to their problem.
How do you ask that question? What are, if you're meeting with someone, if let's say you don't know me, how would you approach that question?
First, look at body language, find out a little bit about what makes a person tick, find out what they do, who they are, a little about who they are, learn their name. That's a good start. For example, with our dinner with the individual from Entrepreneur Magazine, come to find out she was a vegetarian. I had experience as a vegetarian. So we looked at the menu together, ordered vegetarian cuisine, and that was the beginning of a wonderful conversation.
So figure out if there's parallels together that work from there.
Commonalities.
If there was someone watching that might be in your shoes, what would you tell them? If there was one thing that you could tell them about business, what would it be?
Wow, that's a really good question. I would say it's never too late to go back and reevaluate, and don't give up. I see so often people get intimidated by the statistics of business and they get lost in it, and I think they choke out. And instead of sticking with it and revisiting and going back to the drawing board and having a great long-term strategy and sticking to the long-term strategy, knowing that if you need to change it up, you can change it up, and that it's not too rigid, so don't be afraid to return to that. And success is measured. Don't look to measuring your value through success. It's not objective. Look at your achievements and measure your own definition of success based on your achievements. And that being said, don't be afraid of failing, because again, that's subjective, and based on your long-term strategy, you know, you can do what you need to do to be successful and to have achievements.
Anything else?
No, drink kombucha.
Stick around. We'll show you some quick and easy hacks to get the most out of your email signature. Plus, from LLC to partnership, the questions you need to be asking when forming your business. It's next on Hampton Roads Business Weekly.
Welcome back to Hampton Roads Business Weekly and the one thing entrepreneurs do that lead to their success. Today, we're talking about starting a business with Jeremy DeMosick with the law firm of Carroll Blanton Ferris in Virginia Beach. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You're an expert in business law, and when we're talking about starting a business, some people fail to think about the legal aspects. But I know you're going to say, don't do that. What kind of legal things should you think about if you're about to start a company?
Well, if you're starting a business, one of the first things you want to think about is your entity formation. Are you going to be a partnership? Do you want to form an LLC or an S Corp? Choosing the right entity formation can really start you off on the right foot.
But what if you, as a startup, don't really know? You don't have all those pieces yet, and you're hoping to grow, you're hoping to change, and you're hoping to maybe bring some people on. What do you do in the beginning? What do you absolutely need to have at the very start?
Well, I think the way to go is obviously to talk to somebody who knows, like an attorney, and then they can talk to you about what might be most appropriate for your situation. So for most of my clients, big or small, I recommend an LLC. An LLC is a great way to both register your business officially with the state and also protect yourself personally from any kind of liability that you might have on behalf of the business. So for example, as an LLC, if you're doing business, whether it's you're running a catering business, a restaurant, a construction company, big or small, and let's say something happens, somebody gets hurt on the job, or one of your customers gets injured in your restaurant and they want to sue you, well, they can't sue you personally, they have to sue your LLC. Which means that if they were to win a lawsuit or a judgment against you, it wouldn't be against you personally, which means your personal assets aren't at stake, your home, your vehicle, other sources of income. It would just be the assets of your company. Your personal assets would be protected.
So no matter how small, even if you're just starting day one, you think an LLC is something to protect whatever company it is you do have?
Absolutely. The vast majority of my clients are really small businesses, even micro businesses we call them. It's sole owner, maybe a person and a partner, whether it's a spouse or a family member. They might be running out of their house, or I had a lot of contractor clients. It's a guy with a toolbox and a pickup truck, and that's all it is. But he still wants to make sure it's done right and to protect himself from any liability that might come in down the road.
And the segment is called The One Thing, because we like to focus on one thing that an entrepreneur can do to help them grow their business and that will lead to success. What is your one thing for the companies that I know you've worked with hundreds?
That one thing is to start early. It's never too early to go see an attorney for a free consultation. They can give you some guidance, like I said, on where you're at now, where you want to be, and how you can get there. You don't necessarily have to do everything at the beginning, but if you can get your ducks in a row early, it'll set you up for success down the road.
We've heard this often that, at least in the beginning, they're bootstrapping, they don't have the money, but something like this could actually save them money in the long run.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest problem I see with people who haven't, maybe they've tried to do it themselves in terms of these documents, or they put it off too long, is when something goes wrong, it ends up costing them a lot of money. So for example, with a partnership, you got two people who are going into business together. They need to have a partnership agreement at the beginning, because 6 months from now, if one person wants to leave or it falls apart, it's going to cost them a lot more money to unravel it than it would have to put it together the right way the first time.
Start right in the beginning.
Absolutely.
All right. Jeremy DeMosick, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our social marketing expert, Naoma Doraguzzi, is here with tips on how to get the most out of your email signature.
Hi, this is Naoma Doraguzzi with AskNaoma.com, and today I want to talk about email signatures within Gmail. Most people have a fancy email signature attached to them, but if you're using Gmail, it only uses plain text, which means it's a little bit harder to work around to get your graphics, if you want links. It's very basic. It doesn't support HTML, but there are workarounds that you can do to kind of get the fancier email signature. If you want to have an HTML editor, you can type up your email signature and copy and paste it. I don't like that way. Sometimes it doesn't always copy over exactly like I'd like, but what I use is a Chrome extension, which is called YStamp, and it's free to use for up to 2 email signatures that you connect with your Gmail account. And I have my profile photo, I have my social media accounts linked to it, and then it even has an RSS feed to my blog, so when I send an email from my Gmail, it'll have the link to my latest blog post, and it's attached to every single one of my emails if I want to. If I don't want that email signature, I just want to send a plain text email, I can remove it. But this is a free tool to use. Again, it's called YStamp. You can have the paid version, which has a lot more features, but I don't feel like I need that. I just need one basic email signature. It's a little bit fancier than the basic one that Gmail has. So again, it's called YStamp, and if you have any other questions, you can go to AskNaoma.com or find me on Twitter at AskNaoma.
That's all for this week's Hampton Roads Business Weekly. You can find the show on Facebook and Twitter at HR Business Weekly or at hrbusinessweekly.com.
For Hampton Roads Business Weekly, I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. We'll see you next week.
Hampton Roads Business Weekly, sponsored by Regent University and produced by ABC 13.